Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar Introduction to Alibaba Cloud Message Service. My name is Saisaraj Chandra. I am an Alibaba Cloud MVP from India. We'll talk about the message service of Alibaba Cloud. We'll see what is Alibaba Cloud Message Service is, what are the features of Alibaba Cloud Message Service, how can we leverage the SDKs available for development using this message service. The recording of the webinar will be made available after the webinar is over. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can input your questions by clicking on the bottom right question mark, and I will cover them at the end of our session. So let's start the webinar. So this is today's agenda. We'll introduce you to the service, and then we'll see what are the key advantages or benefits for the Alibaba Cloud Message Service, and then we'll run into a small demonstration of how you can set up the message service on Alibaba Cloud Console, and then we'll see some of the apps developed on that. So what are messaging and notification services? Messaging and notification services are the heart of social networking apps like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, or Google G Talk, whatever it is. These are the best way to keep the users engaged. They are easily scalable, and then they are redundancy or persistent. So you can keep the messages and you can sync across the devices so that it will be available for later to pull those messages. What are some use cases of the messaging and notification services? These are the popular use cases where messaging services includes distributed applications such as WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, and we will also use it for geofencing, where you reach to a particular location. Based on your location, the local businesses or the stores will keep sending you the discounts available in that area. This is the best way you can engage the users to the businesses, and this is a reminder to inactive users. So if you been not visited for into an app for a particular amount of time, the app keeps sending you the notifications to keep you engaged with that particular app. And then there are price drop updates and event based triggers. If something happens to your particular application, within your particular application, you can trigger another event. Based on that particular event, you can trigger another notification, or you can send message across another app so that it will respond accordingly. And there are so many use cases for this particular messaging and notification services. We can also say these messaging services are the heart of the IoT communication. Low latency messaging services are used in IoT communication. And what are the advantages of this Alibaba Cloud messaging and notification services? They are easy to use, they are stable, scalable, and secure. We will see in detail what are all the benefits of this each of these attributes. Easy to use. So Alibaba Cloud Message Service is expressed via HTTP HTTPA. So you are not bound to any particular technology or particular programming language here. So you can use HTTP REST service to you can use this particular HTTP REST service to make it bootstrap your application, and then you can get the messages, send the messages, create queues, create topics, and all those activities. There are also SDKs available which takes off the load of creating the authentication and all those. If the SDKs are available for Node.js, Python, and then the Java, and then these are updated regularly, so you can use the SDKs directly into your application to bootstrap some of the features. And there are zero operations where if you create the services on your own, you need to take care of the complete development activities, the throughput, the maintenance, performance, security, and all those. But here you need not to worry about any of those. You can use this message service application as a service to create the message service for your own application, and then the Alibaba Cloud will take care of all the backend activities for you. And then the stability, so Alibaba Cloud provides 99.99% of data security, and then they store 3 copies of your messages. In case of any failure happens, the backup messages will be restored without your knowledge. So this happens, so there will be no downtime to the users, and there is service availability of 99.9%. So you can always assure that your service is up and running. And then immediate assurance for successful delivery. So messages are delivered for sure. So the assurance of the delivery will be taken care by Alibaba Cloud. You also have your logs within your console to see how the deliveries happen to different devices, across different devices. And then the security. So Alibaba Cloud has a top-notch anti-DDoS product and security products. So the professional protection of different levels to prevent attacks such as DDoS attacks. So message service is also covered with anti-DDoS service by Alibaba Cloud by default. So you need not to worry about any DDoS attacks onto your particular service. If you want more features, you do check out the anti-DDoS service. The anti-DDoS Pro will provide more services if you want any customized DDoS customizations you want. And then isolation and dedicated namespace for multiple users. So whatever the namespace you get with your message service is not shared across multiple users. So you will get an isolation and dedicated namespace. And then support main sub accounts for authorization and authentication. Both at the client side and the server side, you have resource access management, where you can give a temporary access to a particular resource to your application or the console, which they can use and administer the accounts, send messages across and do all this. You need not to provide the complete rates to every user. You have the flexibility to provide multiple rates to multiple users. And it also supports HTTPS and VPC. So VPC, the virtual private cloud, will use across within the Alibaba Cloud network. So if you have a VPC already been running within Alibaba Cloud, you can use this message service across your VPC to communicate between different servers. So it also supports HTTPS. This gives an additional layer of security, so you can communicate across the HTTPS service, secure SSL layer. And then scalability. The count of queue and the storage of messages is not limited. So as I previously said, if you create your own services, there will be a limitation of how many messages you can send per second, or how much queue you can maintain. You need to upscale your servers and all those activities you need to perform. But here you simply need to create the queue, and then Alibaba Cloud will take care of everything. So there is no limitation that you can only send these messages per queue. You can literally send n number of messages onto the queue. And then automate scaling up while transparent to users. So without having a downtime, you can scale up your services as a user grows, and then scale down accordingly. So if you have more users coming in, then you can scale up your services while you don't feel any downtime to your application. So you can deploy your application worldwide. So you have your message services can be replicated across, or you can deploy your message service across worldwide. So there are currently 19 regions it is available. It means you have low latency access to anywhere in the world. So this is a scalability factor of Alibaba Cloud Message Service. So let's see a small demonstration how we can create the Alibaba Cloud Message Service on the console. So let's start. This is a console. First log into your account. After logging to your account, this is where you can navigate to the console. Once you navigate to the console, go to products. There you can see the application services, message service. So you have the regions available over here. I'll choose Singapore for now. So you can click on create queue. You can give a message service demo, and then long polling wait time. So if you have your application doing a particular polling onto a queue, you can use this service. So I don't have, so the value is in seconds, so it starts from 0 to 30 seconds. if within 30 seconds if none of them pull the messages, then your application, this particular queue will remove the messages from the queue. So I'll disable the long polling time, so I'm not using polling in my applications. So invisibility timeout, so after a particular amount of time you can mark the messages to be invisible, so that no one will be able to see those messages. So for now I'll keep the maximum time. These are the values are in seconds, and the maximum message size byte, so it varies from 1 kilobyte to 64 kilobytes. So I'll give some 4 kilobytes. The message retention period, so how long you want your messages to be available across the queue. So I'll keep the message retention period as around 60 seconds for now. And then the message delay, if you have any requirement that your messages should be delivered after a particular delay, you can choose this message delay where you can make sure that after a delay the message will be delivered to the client, or it will be available on the queue. So I don't want any message delay here, so I'll keep it as 0. I'll enable the logging to see how the messages are delivered and how many messages are sent, how it is performing. I click OK. So this is all you need to do to create the message service on Alibaba Cloud. You can get your endpoints over here to see what is a public endpoint, what is a private endpoint, and then what is a VPC endpoint to use within the Alibaba Cloud network. So there we also have a topic section where you can create a topic, and then you can use topic based messaging. So I'll create a topic, tech notifications, and then I'll say the maximum message size is around 4 KB, and then I'll enable the logging on the topics as well. So we also have as event notifications. So event notifications are more of like, if you have, so we have an OSS object storage service. If any image is uploaded onto the OSS, or any file operation happens onto the OSS, we can trigger this message service, and that sort of event notifications are available within the Alibaba Cloud message service. So this keeps growing. We can see more events coming in. So you can see also have direct mail, where if any mail is triggered, you can trigger the messages onto this. If any mail is sent from the direct mail service, you can trigger a message using the message service. So those are event notifications. And we have the log section. So if any messages are sent, and then you see all the logs are being pushed onto the OSS or log service, you can configure that, but all the logs will be available over here under your particular reason. So this is with the demonstration. This is all you need to do to get your message service up and running. If you want more more queues, you can start creating it over here. So now we will see how the queue and the topic based notification of messages works. So let's jump back into the PPT. So this is one of the application which I have created using the message service. So we have very simple functionalities here. We use queue based services to see how we can send messages, how we can receive messages, and then we use the topic based notification services or topic based messaging services to send notifications across and then to receive the notifications. So here you are seeing the send messages to the queue. So we click on send messages button on the top, and then once we click on, we'll see the progress by sending 10 messages, and then once the 10 messages are sent, you will see a small prompt saying all messages are sent, and then we'll click on the receive messages. Receive messages will make sure that we are receiving those messages whatever we have sent back, and then if you see that the receive messages will receive all the messages, and then it will display on the down. But here if you see, the messages are not in a particular order. So Alibaba Cloud message service ensures that all the messages are being delivered, but they don't ensure the order of the messages being delivered. So it is up to us. You need to use the timestamp on the message to retrieve which message came first and which message to be ordered next. So we use queue services to send messages onto the queue, and then we receive messages onto the queue. So this is a notification service. So I created a notification service using the topic based messaging services. So when I click on send notification, I'll get a small prompt saying a empty text box where I put notification test, and then on clicking OK, I'll send a notification to the device. So I have one service in the back which listening for on that particular topic, listening for any messages. So once I click OK, I'll be able to see the notification coming over in the my navigation drawer. So how queues work? So queues are like single FIFO FIFO fashion, so first in first out fashion. So there are two producers. Think we have two producer 1 and producer 2 sending the messages, message 11, message 12 and message 13, and the producer 2 is sending message 21, 22 and 23. So you can see here those messages are being pushed into the queue, and all the consumers will keep listening onto that particular queue. So that particular queue, whenever the new messages come in, the consumers will be able to see the messages, either message 11, message 12 or message 21, 22 and 23. So this is a simple fashion how queues work. So whenever you create queue and start working on it, so you can think of this particular way. The messages will be sent and the consumers will receive the messages. So how in code it works? So this is a sample of Android code. So you can think I use a Java SDK to implement this queue service. So I'll create a cloud account object, and then the new cloud account object will be having your access key secret and endpoint, and then the MNS client, you will get an instance of the MNS client, and then I created a small task receive notifications. So using that receive notification service, you can see cloud queue equal to client dot get queue reference. So we'll send the queue name. What is the queue name? We will get the reference of the queue name, and then we'll pop the message. We'll take the latest messages from the queue, and then we'll delete the message. So if you didn't deliver the message, it will be available until the invisibility timeout occurs. So if you don't want the message to be available across the other users, you need to delete the message from the queue once you get the receipt handed that the message is being delivered to you. So the other way of handling the message services is using push notifications. So the push notifications, you can see the producer is sending two messages with message 1 and the other message with message 2 with the name Ali. So that with that tag Ali. So these producers will send the message over the topic, and then the topic publishes. So there are 4 ways the consumers are listening to this particular topic. The first way is a subscription. So the consumer will subscribe to the topic named Ali. So the messages will message 1 and Ali will be pushed onto a queue, and then the consumer will, if he is listening to the queue, he will get all the messages, either message 1 and message 2. And then the subscription 2, here they are using HTTP endpoint where they are listening for all the messages on the topic. So here you can see that message 1 and message 2 with the tag Ali is being delivered to HTTP endpoint 1. And then we have HTTP endpoint 2, where the particular consumer is only listening for the tag Ali. So messages tagged with Ali, name Ali. So here we will get the message 2 to the HTTP endpoint 2. And then we have the subscription 4. They are not listening with they are listening with the HTTP with the tag named global. So here only the HTTP tag named global. So there is no messages coming from the producers with the tag named global. So HTTP endpoint 3 will not receive any of the messages over there. So how we can implement these notifications or topic based services? So first we'll create a topic name, and then we'll create a topic meta, and then meta.set topic name will set the topic name, and then we'll create a topic message, and then we'll create a topic message object, and then we'll set our message content onto that message object by using the set message body, and then we'll publish this particular message to that topic. So from the receiving perspective, we'll create a cloud topic object with the reference of the same topic name, and then we'll create a subscription meta object, and then we subscribe to that meta object with having some subscription name, and then we'll set the endpoint, getting the endpoint from the console, and then we'll make sure that the content which we are getting is of JSON, and then we'll subscribe for using that subscription meta object. So this will make sure that whenever we get a new notification or new service, new message, it will be pushed back into our app. So the previous application which I showed you, the whole code is available over the GitHub. It is a Apache 2.0 license. You can improve it, you can raise a pull request, or you can use within your own code. I'll provide the links further. So these are some useful resources for the webinar. So you can always visit the Alibaba Cloud website at alibabacloud.com, and then you can check out the blog where you have a lot of articles written, step-by-step articles of how to implement various services within Alibaba Cloud. And if you would like, you can do a lot contributions to Alibaba, and then you can also learn about the MVP program. And this is my MVP URL, and then you can always find me on GitHub using this URL. So this marks the end of the webinar. Now let's move for the questions. Question and answer session, where I'll answer the questions which I have submitted. So we have our first question. Is this product covered with the free trial? Yes, this product is covered within the free trial, and even if the product is very cheap, if you are running one queue for bootstrapping or prototyping within your application, that won't cost more than $1. So yeah, this product is covered within the free trial for 2 months if you create a new account. We got another question. Are there aspects in the logic you described that are different for iOS versus Android? No, there are no differences. So I think we have Java SDK available for Android, so I use the Java SDK within the Android. You can either use HTTP endpoints, or we have Python SDKs are also available. So there is no difference in the logic. It still remains the same way how you will create the queues, and then how you create the topics and subscribe to that for using these message services. Thanks for joining the webinar. The recording will be available by tomorrow on the Alibaba Cloud Resources page. You can get the recording of the webinar. And thank you for all.